Bear down, Chicago Bears. We've got a quarterback. It looks like the Chicago Bears are letting it appear that they have been set on Caleb Williams. And then that's where the intrigue is going to start. So, what is the next move? Well, they hosted Marvin Harrison Jr. yesterday, meaning that there is some finagling that might be happening in the background. Could the Bears be trading up right now to try to secure Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams? Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm not really sure that the possibility exists for that to happen. I don't know what kind of draft capital it would take in order to make something like that happen, but it would stand to reasonably you'd have to make a trade with maybe Arizona or something like that in order to make this a reality. And that's a big leap from number 9 up to number 4. You make that big leap, then potentially you've got some opportunity, but that also belies the fact that Washington and New England also have a choice on what positions they're going to be going for, and it would have to be quarterback, assuming, if you will, that Marvin Harrison is the top talent of the draft, not a quarterback. So there is also some potential that Joe Alt ends up in that spot. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but the Bears have done their due diligence, and they did entertain Marvin Harrison Jr. yesterday, Monday, April the 8th, at Hallis Hall. So a lot going on there, and Ryan Tanny Hill is also being floated as a potential backup for Caleb Williams. But before we get into that, I do want to say that I've got some videotape of a young man you might know named Tyson Bent. And he is, let's not call it a cannon because that arm probably never will be a cannon, but he's putting a little bit of oomph on his passes, as we've seen in a little bit of practice for him running. So he's throwing some balls to some route runners and looking pretty good. It's a very small sample, but we're going to look at that today. So if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified of future content. And let's kick this off with the first thing. So the Bears appear to be set on Caleb Williams at the number 1 spot. The biggest needs for this team, of course, got to have a quarterback, going to have an edge rusher, a center, a defensive tackle. Some people will say an offensive tackle is still needed, and that would be fair enough to say. And it's possible that we're going to need a tight end because I believe that Gerald Everett is only on a 1-year deal. So maybe, just maybe, we've got a lot more needs. But the Bears have a pretty good offseason, but there are holes still left to fill. There has to be an edge rusher that gets around. So the first things are the best first-round fits for the Chicago Bears: Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, and Dallas Turner. Now, I am seeing some reports coming out, and I'm seeing some redraft, early draft things, if you will, moving Jared Verse to the number 1 edge rusher over Dallas Turner. Now, if you hear somebody talking about it, you may not, you might disagree. You might disagree. There's been a lot of consensus for a lot of time that Dallas Turner was the guy. So it's a little weird to start seeing Jared Verse name popping up as the number 1 overall edge rusher, especially when you still have Latu out there. So interesting thing. And it also could be that he is the most available guy for the Chicago Bears at that 9 fit. But on the best 2 day, you're not going to believe who showed up as the best for the second day. You know him if you watch me for any length of time, and it's MHJ the sequel. Michael Hall Jr., defensive tackle out of Ohio State, was listed in this article as the best second day fit. So shout out to Michael Hall Jr. Now at this point, I hope he's on the team, just because it'd be fantastic to see MHJ 1 and 2 both on the team. It'd be fantastic. So anyway, moving on from this, that we got to do. Let's remember here what we've got that we're working on, and this is a fantastic opportunity. In the event, most likely that Caleb Williams is that guy, then you're looking at the Chicago Bears that brought in Keenan Allen, they brought in Gerald Everett, they brought in DeAndre Swift to cover up that passing game and create a little bit more running game. But let's face it, this is Shane Waldron. They're going to be passing the ball quite a bit. And in fact, I wonder how long it's going to be before some Chicago Bears fan looks at the, let's call it 3-0 Chicago Bears that only have like 150 rushing yards through 3 games and starts saying, hey, why are we rushing the ball, man? Why are we rushing the ball? We got to get back to what the Bears do, man. We can't be throwing the ball. I'm sure we're undefeated, but we have to do better. We're just gonna have to do better. The people are going to be out there, and it's going to be fun to watch. I think this is going to be an interesting team that we're going to see develop over the next couple of months here as all these pieces start to fit in. What does it look like with Caleb Williams? And how does everything just kind of, how does the rest of the team take to Caleb Williams? How does he fit into the dynamic here? I think the team is ready for that kind of guy to come in. I think they've made themselves available to that whole possibility. I think they're really kind of all in on let's make this happen, and there we go from there. And by the way, this does not mean in any way that Caleb Williams is going to be a superstar, but fingers crossed. I mean, this is where we are. This is what's happening. And guys, when I show you Tyson Bajent, you're going to feel real good about the backup position for the Chicago Bears because look, I'll be fair with you. Going into when Justin Fields got injured and I saw Tyson Bajent come out and Tyson Bajent started making these quick throws and he started to look like he was really operating that offense, then it looked really good. Then he kind of threw up that noodle of a pass that got intercepted and they ended up losing. I think that was to Minnesota, I want to say. And, then you were like, well, you know what? One bad pass, not that bad. Well, then we started to see more bad pass. We started to see a weak arm from Tyson Bajent. Well, it looks like Tyson Bajent has been working on arm strength. How much can you fix your arm strength really is the question. How can you fix your mechanics and, how do you work through that? Well, looks like Tyson Bajent is doing that. So the backup position, we might not need him, but we're going to talk about Ryan Tanny Hill. But the way it looks right now, it looks like Tyson Bajent might be that backup that we're looking for. Moving on to bigger news. The Bears hosted Marvin Harrison Jr. on Monday. So they are looking like it. And Crimson says it's deep passes, wobbles like punts. It's not just the strength, it's the accuracy. Well, we're going to see what that looks like actually in a few minutes because I've got some video footage of Tyson Bajent that popped up yesterday. So we're going to be looking at how he throws the ball, and you're going to see a little different throw. To me, it felt different. So we'll see what happens. But it's a definite long shot. But there is a way for the Chicago Bears to walk away with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. The Bears are locked to select Caleb Williams at number 1, I think. Washington and New England are probably going to take quarterbacks. It's number 4, number 5, where it gets really interesting, right? So again, the Arizona Cardinals have the number 4 pick. And then if the Minnesota Vikings, who are looking for a quarterback as well, they make a trade into that 4 position, then that means that the Chargers could end up with the number 5 pick and might look like something where Marvin Harrison is not on their radar as well. So maybe, just maybe, they need some help on defense. Maybe, just maybe, they need some help on that offensive line. But there is some possibilities here that they can find a way to come up with Marvin Harrison Jr. by making a trade up. But again, the Bears would have to give up quite a bit in order to make that move into number 5. And then the question would be, is it worth it? And here's the question. Does Marvin Harrison set himself apart from Malik Neighbors from Roma Dunzi. Now, and by the way, the stats don't lie. They don't say this. But does he set himself apart from these two other potentially available receivers? Again, the answer to that is probably not. We're probably, if we decide on a receiver, in a very good position. Also, we're in a pretty good position if we decide on an edge rusher. I do think that Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, and Latu Latu are probably three very, very good. It's a very deep draft up at the top of this, uh, up in the first round this year. So I think we're going to get some very talented players with the number 1 and the number 9, even trading down on the number 9 to accumulate more options. I think even gives us a pretty good opportunity. Trading down to a 15 or so and picking up Jackson Powers Johnson really changes the dynamic of this team overall, creates a much better scenario. I don't think, by the way, that there's any situation, even though again I'm thinking my way through this whole process, and I don't think that there's any way that that happens. I think that in the event that we look at draft capital and we see that number 9 pick available to be traded down, and we do make a trade down and we get into that 15, 16, 17 range, I don't even think they're going to be looking at Jackson Powers Johnson, even though for some of you that might be a no brainer. They might not even be looking that way. They might be looking at trading to get more capital in order to, again, take an edge rusher a little bit further down in the draft, or a defensive tackle like Johnny Newton, probably still going to be available at that point. So there's still going to be some points of need that are still there. So this is going to be a weird. I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated about what could happen for this draft. So potential exit. And what would you trade, by the way? What would you trade? Leave it in the comment section if you had the opportunity. And you've already taken Caleb Williams at number 1, and you know that let's just say that the Minnesota Vikings trade up at number 4, and they trade with Arizona, and they take JJ McCarthy with the number 4. Now at the number 5, you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. Do you trade up and do you make that happen? So, and by the way, in this draft, they had Malik Neighbors going number 6, Joe Alt going number 7, and Dallas Turner going number 8. So, very interesting what could potentially happen here. So, certainly fascinated by the opportunity to see, what could transpire here. So, and shout out to Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, that's just my guy. Now, they are floating Ryan Tannehill as a potential backup to Caleb Williams, and maybe Ryan Tannehill comes in, might even start the season, and maybe or maybe he's the number 2. Caleb Williams is the number 3. As they start this season, I don't really know exactly what we're going to do here yet. I think they're going to throw him to the wolves. I mean, I feel like that's what they're going to end up doing. And then I think we're going to hear a whole lot about how Tyson Bent or how Caleb Williams has just advanced beyond his years and looking great. I think they're going to be forced to do that. So Matt Holder recently floated the possibility of the Bears enlisting Tanny Hill. To be clear, his argument has nothing to do with suggesting the Bears bring in true competition for Williams or whichever rookie they pick, but more so focused on how Tanny Hill could act as a veteran mentor. Poles could add a veteran mentor for the incoming rookie. Tanny Hill could serve as the Bears' backup quarterback, as that role is currently occupied by second-year pro Tyson Bent. Now, we're going to look at Tyson Bent again in a little while. And we also signed veteran Brett Rypien, but he has thrown just 25 more passes than Bajent in 5 NFL seasons. The Bears have also made it clear through their offseason moves that they're trying to be a contender during the 2024 season, while the expectations are number 1 rookie will come in and be the guy who helps take them to the playoff. Things can go wrong and injuries can happen. They need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Can they win more games with Bajent or Pro Bowler like Tanny Hill? Look, that's going to be difficult for me to say right now. But I would like to see somebody like a Tanny Hill come in here. But what do you do then? I mean, that means that means Tyson Bajent has to go in his second year, and I think we found a capable backup at that point. So that would be a waste of a player, especially under a rookie contract, to bring in somebody who's probably going to cost several $1,000,000 per year in order to do that. So, you know what I mean? Like it's and Tennessee paid him $27 million last year. So this is a $27 million guy that we're looking to bring in. I mean, maybe rookie minimum. You never know, but somebody's going to need a quarterback pretty soon. So and here's the other part. If you just brought in Brett Ripien, then you're probably not going to release him either. Otherwise, I think that makes you look foolish. I really do. I don't think there's any situation in which Ryan Tannehill is going to be that guy. But I don't know. I mean, you never really know in this league. But let's get into what was going on Twitter today. And I wanted to show you guys just a little bit of Tyson Bajent coming out here right now, putting in work. And you guys can see this right here. And I'm going to advance this just a little bit. And that right there is a little bit more. Uh, he's obviously, I mean, you could look at him from his frame. He's obviously putting in some work to get stronger. But I mean, this is leg movement right here. That is a little bit better of a pass than you've seen from Tyson Bajent going into last season. So it is possible that Tyson Bajent looks just a little bit better. And if he does, and he makes quick reads and he makes the quick throws that we've been seeing from him, this could in fact end up being this could end up being a pretty good guy overall. I mean, again, noodle arm. We've seen that. Now we're seeing a little bit. That looks like he's throwing a little bit better. That looks like a little bit better. And no, the receiver actually is doing it out. You can see it right there. He cuts, and boom, he's right on the 25. Yeah, 25. He's at the 27-yard line. So he's just going right across. So perhaps we'll see a better Tyson Bajent coming into this year. Also, here's a trivia question for the day, by the way. Guess the player. And I'm going to put this up here. Guess the player in the comment section. I already know who the player is. For some stupid reason, I already knew like a couple of these stats. So this one was kind of an easy one for me. But 36 games played, 70.2 passer rating, 6,164 passing yards, 33 passing touchdowns, 35 interceptions. His best game was a 289 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 97 QBR, 148 passer rating. Let me know who you think that was in Bears lore, and we'll move on here. So, again, we had this listing, and this is coming from Clay Harbor. It says that Jared Verse is ranking out as the number one, according to Pro Football Focus, that Jared Verse is the number one edge rusher coming out of college right now, with Dallas Turner being number 2, Liatu Latu being number 3, Chop Robinson number 4, Jonah Ellis at number 5, Chris Braswell number 6, Darius Robinson number 7, Braylon Trice, Adisa Isaac, and then Muhammad Kamara rounding out the top 10. But Jared Verse popping in as that number one guy. And look, that's been my guy. But we'll see what happens. Also, there was an NFL rumor. This was another one, just that rumor coming around that that's what they were looking to do. And this is Xavier Worthy visited the Bears today. This was yesterday on Monday. 20-year-old wide receiver out of Texas is special. 4.21 40 time. I think that was the fastest of all time. 6'1", 172 yards. Guys, I want to say, I don't know that this guy could survive in the NFL for very long at 172 pounds. How do you add muscle to this frame and get him NFL ready, where you really need to be in the 190 to 200 range, at least at a minimum, in my opinion, to be successful in today's NFL. Could he be one of those slot guys? Sure. But I mean, you can't go across the middle at 172 pounds. It doesn't work. But he had 75 receptions, 1,014 yards, 5 touchdowns. Wasn't that Mooney's size? Well, Mooney I think is 5'11", so he's not 6'1". But yeah, I mean he was a light frame guy too, and on a horrible team. We're not a horrible team, so it's complicated there to say that while you're on this the horrible team, if you will. Um, I don't like this selection. I just don't like this selection. I would prefer a bigger receiver in the event that we could get a bigger receiver. And now you've actually got me. I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty sure he's 5'11". 173 pounds. Yeah, 5'11", 173 pounds. Yeah, there's no way. And by the way, as the team got better, Mooney got worse because you weren't as desperate for a receiver. So how does that fit? And by the way, these guys are going to be prone to injury, especially at 172 pounds, unless all you do is just have them run super fucking hard. You know what I mean? Well, actually, I think I think he's a great player. Like that's not the question. The question isn't whether or not he's a great player. The question is Oklahoma is Oklahoma, who is one of the worst defenses, by the way, in any league every single year. Let's not kid ourselves. Oklahoma always has a poor defense. Are they going to give him problems? Are they an NFL level defense? The answer to that is no. He's going to be playing against NFL. He's going to be playing against an all-star Oklahoma defense every single week, and he hasn't played that way before. So he's going to take big hits. He's going to take big shots, and he could be a very tough guy. I'm not saying that he's not. At 6'1", he also has at least some height, and he obviously has the speed. But God damn it, this would be. Look, to me, 172 pounds is a recipe for disaster. He's going to get crushed. Maybe it doesn't happen for 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, it could be that he lasts a pretty good amount of time and that Shane Waldron uses him responsibly, if you will, and he doesn't end up in this disaster sort of occurrence. But I'm very nervous about somebody that small and light framed. So, I mean, I hope if we can get him, I mean, go ahead and take him, whatever. But I'm just telling you guys, it's going to be one of those where he's going to be carted off the field at some point. So did anybody guess the player, by the way? Because the player was Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman, 36 games played, 70.2 passer rating, 6,164 passing yards, 33 passing touchdowns, 35 interceptions, 1 Super Bowl appearance. Didn't he get benched for Kyle Orton in the second half, by the way? So, yeah. Anyway, so let's get back to it, and let's close this out with the draft here. No changes in the roster lineup in any way. Really still just filling out that third wide receiver slot, which is, I mean, Xavier Worthy becomes that potential guy. And if he is, then cool. But, Ryan Bates going to be starting center. We did get that clarified by Matt Eberflus. He was brought in as the starter. Coleman Shelton's going to be the backup to start off with, but they're going to be competing for the job, I'm sure. And then Braxton Jones, some people like him, some people don't. He's been steadily improving, so perhaps he continues to improve. And then I did my draft today, and my draft was number 1, I took Caleb Williams. Number 9, when I got to number 9, Joe Alt was available, so I had to just take Joe Alt. So I got kind of hamstrung on my selections at that point. And then I got to the 75, and I wanted to have more options. So I traded the number 75 pick for the number 96 and number 114. I took Jalen McMillan, wide receiver out of Washington, and then Blake Fisher, another offensive tackle. Couldn't get a decent defensive tackle in that spot where I was really looking. And then Jalix Hunt as the edge rusher out of Houston Christian. So that was about the best that I could get out of that. Remember, I was trying to grab at least something. And by the way, in the event that something like this had happened, and Joe Alt were available at number 9, then that does mean that you could probably move on from Braxton Jones and make a trade and then save that payroll on Braxton Jones, maybe even pulling in or getting another edge rusher from somebody in this context. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what? I don't think so. I think that was just Peyton Manning's moment. You know what I mean? Like I think that was just um the NFL had it in. It was Peyton Manning's day no matter what. He was going to come through. So yeah, I don't think Kyle, I don't think Rex, I don't think anybody that day was going to beat Peyton Manning. Although I still remember the kickoff. You know what I mean? We will always have that kickoff. So miss that day. And shout out to Devin Hester for that moment too, by the way. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up a little bit early. I've been on vacation, just got back from vacation. So everything's kind of in disarray here, trying to get everything sorted out. I got new cameras and stuff like that I'm going to put up here. Um, kind of enhance the surroundings, if you will. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time out of your day to come check me out. If you haven't already, hit the like button on your way out and subscribe if you're able. And we'll talk to you again very, very soon. See you tomorrow.